Hi, my name is Dory Triplett, and I'm going to be talking about Henry Miller being banned in the United States until 1961 and his Supreme Court case involving obscenity of his books. Henry Miller is most known for this book, Tropic of Cancer, and here's a picture of the original cover. His other books were also banned: Tropic of Capricorn, Black Spring, and the Rosy Crucifixion trilogy. Notice how at the bottom of the title it says that the book is not to be imported into Great Britain or the USA. His books were considered too obscene to be distributed in the US. Henry's books were autobiographical, and he wrote about the people in his lives. He wrote about cultures he didn't like, specifically American culture and politics. He wrote about philosophy and reflecting on himself. He wrote in a stream of consciousness style, which is just kind of like puking things onto a page. And he also wrote about surrealism and free association, which is basically just trying to unlock the unconscious mind through a series of like random art pieces or random associations. And the main reason he was banned was because of his usage of explicit, very offensive words, and he talked about sex, obviously. Some people assume that he was a sexist. I really don't think he was. I think he was just trying to really find himself and explore what it means to be alive, basically. And that would mean that he tells the truth even about all of his sexual endeavors, which could be very offensive, yes. So, Henry's books were published in Paris during the 1930s, and because they were banned in the United States, the only way that people could get them is if people were determined enough to smuggle the books into the country. So, by him being banned, naturally, people had a curiosity about him and still got a hold of his books. And he began to grow a pretty big cult following in the United States of academics, writers, and beatniks. So, nearly 30 years after the initial publication of Henry Miller in France, the Grove Press offered Miller a sizable advance to be his first publisher in the US. They promised to defend him against any legal battles that might ensue after publication. So, naturally, Henry, being the rebel that he is, he was reluctant to give up his role as the most censored author in America, but he eventually consented. So, Grove Press went ahead and published Tropic of Cancer in the United States in 1961. They sold over 1 million copies within the first year, but over three-fourths of them were immediately returned, and the publisher attracted over 50 criminal cases against wholesalers and booksellers due to the obscene content. So by the time the Supreme Court decided Grove Press, the book had been involved in nearly 100 court cases, and Grove Press had spent over $100,000 defending Tropic of Cancer in both criminal and civil suits. Grove Press argued a proposition before the court and offered that the ambiguities of the obscenity test in Roth v. United States, 1957, could be invalidated if the Supreme Court were to establish as obscene only those sexually explicit communications utterly without redeeming social value. And of course, in this case, Henry Miller's works absolutely have social value. It was a narrow majority, 5-4, willing to accept the case. 4 of the justices would have denied certiorari. They believed that Miller's works did have literary merits that separated it from other materials that would have been deemed to be obscene. I'm very grateful that the ban was lifted off of Henry Miller because reading his books make me think about rejecting institutionalized religion, understanding yourself and self-liberation, rejecting society and norms, and rather than indulging in materialistic things, learning to live in the moment and accept things as they are, thriving in chaos, contemplating life and death, and understanding your friends. And I also love to hear him talk about creating art and writing and trying to understand the universe through his expression of art. Thank you so much for listening.